Right, it's 1st of October today. It's raining. It's Sunday. So a wet Sunday afternoon. But you never hear me complaining. Jeepers creepers. So, Beatles or Stones? Yeah, I still like them both. Yeah, I can't say I've got all their albums. Stones have made many more than the Beatles. You could say that they had to compete. Well, Moonlight Mile. Do you know that song by the Stones? Yeah. Octopus's Garden. Anyway, you may have seen that I've put a couple of films on my channel of me filming at night. Just very short. One is the moon. Quite obviously the moon. Couldn't be anything else. And please bear that in mind. Because well, we're told lots of things about the moon, and they're not right. Like, we're told that the moon is 237 or 8,000 miles away. Right. Yet the crater on the, I think it might be called Tycho, but there is another one called, anyway, I can't be sure, but I know it's something like 87 kilometers across it or something, and that's 50 something miles, just let's say 60 miles for argument's sake, and that's the crater I'm on about is the one at the bottom that looks like it's the bit that forms in the center of the flower of an orange, and then the orange expands, and this thing is not but the one where it gets picked from, not the other end. It's like its bum hole, if you like. So the bum hole of the moon, the crater, we're calling it 60 miles across. So go to Google Earth and do the same thing with 60 miles. Look at something that's 60 miles across, a piece of water or something, a lake, and then go 237,000 miles away. Can you see it? Right. And now we're told that the moon is lit by the sun. So when it's night, darkness, and the moon is shining on us, that light that we're receiving from it is being reflected from the sun. Now, if that were true, the light would be warm. We would feel the temperature difference. In fact, if it was so small that we couldn't, then a digital thermometer could. And when you do this experiment, you'll find that the difference in the moonlight and the moon shade is either 0, or the moonlight is cooler. The experiment's been done several times and has never shown the moonlight to be warmer. Plus, when you see the moon and the sun out during the day, you can imagine you have to kind of imagine, but it's so obvious. Now let me just tell you what to do. You find out where the sun might be a gibbous, the moon will be a gibbous moon, or it won't be full. It'll be there'll be a point in it where the shadow starts, and from that point around the edge of the moon, go to the other point where it starts on the edge of the moon and draw a line across there, and then from the center of that line draw a perpendicular line, and that should be the center of the sun. But actually it'll miss the sun by miles. So, and the moon, if you look at the film, the moonlight is even. I'm not talking about the different mediums that the moon appears to be made from. I'm talking about whether the mediums appear to be the same. The light reflection appears to be the same also. How could that be? And how come there's no hot spot on a sphere? That's because it's not a sphere. The moon makes its own light. There is some effect, definitely, from the sun, but that's the electromagnetic energy. See that the moon is full of craters, and they could not have been made by meteorites because they're all perpendicular. All the impacts would have had to have been at 90 degrees. So how could that have happened? We're looking at them. So these lumps of rock or whatever must have come from the Earth. And was that the time when the moon was spinning? The Earth spinning? How does that happen? How does H1? See, all these things there are no explanations for, and you can't explain them. And if you come up against something like that, where it doesn't fit, and the explanation is some harebrained, really out there bullshit, just like the tides. Well, you've got to throw the whole thing out then. Throw it all out, because you've got to the point where the bullshit is stinking the place out. So, when you saw the film of the moon, you thought to yourself, moon. So what was the other thing? Because when I pointed my camera at the thing that looked like the moon to me, I just got an image of the moon. It brought me to the moon. It focused, it zoomed in on the moon, if you like, and the moon became even clearer. So when I zoomed in on that other object, it became clearer. Couldn't see it very well what I was actually looking at. It seemed a bit small, a bit pokey, but I could see some kind of a light, so I zoomed in. What was it then, I wonder? Space station? No, that's a very difficult thing to track. It appears to go very fast. But there's a fellow called Jeran who actually pointed a laser at it, quite a substantial laser, and he was tracking it, and they had an image of it live, apparently, from what they could see on the space station, and then he could see it in the sky. The sky was beautifully clear, and the image from the space station was you couldn't see any land because of the clouds. So the thing I was actually filming was the pole star. Yeah, that was a star. The pole star. You know, the one that doesn't move, even though we're hurtling through space at, I don't know, billions of miles every year. Billions. And yet there's absolutely no difference with that pole star. I could nail a 2-inch piece of tubing to my shed and point it at the North Star. So when I looked at it through the tube, it was there. I looked for it, rather. It was there. It was there through the tube. There it is. The tube doesn't move. The shed doesn't move. I could look at that any time of the year, as long as I could see it due to cloud cover at night. When it was visible, it would be in the same place. Okay. So, there's a thing called, well, just let me say first of all that the stars, so we're told, are many different distances away. Many different. Some are hundreds of light years. I think even more than that, probably galaxies being thousands of light years. Anyway, it's just... Anyway, this is what they tell us. And yet we never see parallax. You know, that things appear to move quickly in the foreground and much slower in the background. And then they'll say, well, we're in the background, much in the background. But the thing is, these constellations have been recorded for thousands of years, and they haven't moved. They'll say, oh, it swapped to that, and then it went back down to there, and then it's not there again. Really? No. So it wouldn't do that. It would just go, wouldn't it, in one direction, because we're all expanding outwards. And there'd be a bang that's increasing because they say it's getting bigger and faster. And that is an explosion that hasn't stopped. It's just continued. And how come then we are on a collision course with some other galaxy? It's bullshit.